So welcome to our Uganda Forum, harnessing diaspora and knowledge NGO know-how for opportunities for business. We are really, really pleased that you've come to this event. Sound different now, I hope. Okay, brilliant. Okay, right. Sorry, I'm not used to this. So we have an agenda this morning. We will both basically be on from now until about 10:40. At exactly 10:40, we will have a tea break or coffee break, and then resume at 11. So we want to try and make sure we keep to that time at least so that we don't run over. My name is Mwila Zaza. I'm not from Uganda, and I've been there. It's a great place, lovely place. But like many people, I'd like to know a bit more about it if I were to do business there. And I think that's what we're here for. So to begin with, we will have an introduction, a general overview of our of PARC, which is Partnering for Change, and the day's events, which will come from Sarah. So Sarah is my colleague at Partnering for Change. And over here, we have Paula, who's representing Finnpartnership, who are the other partners running this event today. So, Sarah? Okay.
I hope you can hear me. Yeah, I think you can hear me. While I'm speaking, you are also free to use the Mentimeter. So please scan the QR code. I'm not sure if your phones can reach here from those who are present. If you can, you can tell us how you feel tonight, this morning. But I guess that those who are online have already been able to answer that. We will have more Mentimeters on the way, so you are very welcome to participate also. You can also ask questions during this event, and we will have microphones that we will distribute to you. So the name of the event today is Uganda Forum, Harnessing Diaspora and NGO Know-how for Opportunities for Businesses. So we have here people from Finland, people from Uganda, people from other countries in the world to tell how they have managed to succeed in their businesses in Uganda and also in some other countries. First, I will tell just a few words about Diaconess Foundation, which I work in. We are a large Finnish NGO with over 3,000 employees. We operate nationally and internationally, mostly in Finland, but also abroad. All across the Finland, in every county of the country. And our operating income, I think this one was from 2022, was 2023 million. So we are a large social enterprise. Social enterprise means that all the profit that we make from our business goes to the NGO, the foundation part of the company. That's where I work in. Internationally, we work in Eastern Europe and Eastern Africa. We do not, unfortunately, work in Uganda, but close by. This project, which is organizing this event, is called Partnering for Change. In this project, we are targeting NGOs, businesses, and general public in Finland. For NGOs, we are offering trainings and tools to recognize and dismantle power hierarchies between northern and southern partners, so in development cooperation. And for businesses, we are organizing events like this to build bridges between NGOs and businesses and bring you together and us together for a better and more sustainable impact. And for general public, you will hear hopefully more next year when we are organizing a communications campaign, which is aiming to challenge the traditional narrative that the people in Finland have on African countries and what Africa actually means. So, thank you, and I will let Willa to introduce our next speaker.
The question today we're looking at is what makes Uganda a investment prospect for for Finnish organizations. So our first speaker will be Maria Halavanopoulos. She's with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, team leader for Kenya, Uganda, and Seychelles from the unit of the Horn of Africa and Eastern Africa. So she will speak first and give us, the Finnish trade and commercial perspective on the country. So you have, yes. So this is for the...
Yeah, I don't actually have it.
Okay, right. Okay, right.
Just speaking.
Okay.
Is this working? Can you hear me? Is this now? Possibly not. Can you hear me now? No?
Okay, just a second.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sounds like it's working now. Thank you for having me here. My name is Maria Halavanopoulos, and I work as a team leader at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs. In my team, we cover Kenya, Uganda, and Seychelles. And personally, I'm working with their politics and their commercial affairs, whereas I also have colleagues who deal with their development cooperation when it comes to their countries. I would like to thank the organizers, Finnpartnership and Partnership for Change project, for organizing an event like this. I think it's very important that here in Finland we also talk about African countries and the business environment, doing business in Africa. There's not too much of that kind of information, and today we are specifically focusing on Uganda. I know that today we have representatives from the civil society organizations and also private sector. So I was thinking about that I'm just going to give you an overview from the point of view of the Ministry for Foreign Affairs. So if we think about the bilateral relations that we have with Uganda, I would say that relations are good, but maybe a little bit distant, and there hasn't really been bilateral cooperation between the countries. Our ambassador in Nairobi, Kenya, was able to leave his credentials to Uganda earlier this autumn. I believe it was in October, which means that from the moment when he leaves the credentials, he can officially represent Finland in Uganda. Before that, he will not be able to do that. So we used the opportunity when he was able to do that, and in November we traveled to Uganda together, and we signed a memorandum of understanding with Uganda on starting political consultations between the countries. The political consultations is a process that we normally have with our partner countries every 2 years, and that gives us an opportunity to discuss things of mutual interest, whether it's politics, commercial affairs, investments, education, civil society engagements, you name it. So I think we have taken a step towards better direction in our relations, and I hope that this will lead to more active cooperation also between Finland and Uganda. Even though I said that we don't really have bilateral cooperation, it doesn't mean that we wouldn't follow closely what is going on in Uganda. So both their staff in their embassy in Nairobi, but also my team in Helsinki, we are following closely what are the political developments in the country, what is going on there, what are the economic opportunities. We meet with our EU partners. There is an EU delegation in Kampala in Uganda. We meet with the administration now. We've been meeting with the NGO actors. And also now in November, we had very interesting discussions with the private sector representatives in Uganda. And we managed to talk a little bit about the mutual interest. What are the sectors that could be of interest between Finland and Uganda? Also at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, we've recognized the importance of Africa as a continent. And in 2021, 2 years ago, we published the first Africa strategy of the Ministry for Foreign Affairs. And the idea with the Africa strategy was to promote like political and economic cooperation between Finland and the African countries. And the reason why we wanted to expand to the political dialogue and the commercial activities was the fact that for years, the cooperation between Finland and different African countries has been based on development cooperation. But we are kind of like moving a little bit forward from that point and want to diversify the relations that we have. The idea is also that the cooperation would be mutually beneficial. So it's not a give and take cooperation, but both can have a win-win situation of the cooperation. There was an objective when it comes to trade, to double trade between Finland and African countries between the years 2020 and 2030. We have to remember that when we talk about the trade figures with the African countries, we still talk about quite modest figures. So doubling shouldn't be a too big task, but of course there's challenges and there's a lot of work that this can be done. Many of you might think that because the Africa strategy was initiated during the previous government, what will happen to it now? And I can say, at least from my team's perspective, the work will continue. And if you look at the new government's governmental program, you will notice that they actually put a lot of emphasis on promoting investment to different countries and increasing exports from Finland to African countries and other continents, of course, as well. And if we think about the countries like Kenya and Uganda that my team works with, it is in the core of our work to find ways of increasing trade, increasing investments between these countries. So we very much focus on the trade and commercial affairs. I mentioned that the trade figures are still pretty modest, and especially if we talk about Uganda, we are talking about figures less than 10 million when we talk about the exports and imports. So there is definitely room to increase that. At the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, when we look at Uganda as a business environment, we've identified a few crucial points that we think that we should focus or at least pay attention to. One of them is lack of knowledge. If we think about Finland, there's not much knowledge about African countries or doing business in Africa. Finnish businesses often don't think about Uganda as the first destination when they think about where to grow or where to go. So that is something that we've been trying to focus on at the ministry, mostly when it comes to Kenya. But now that we have taken these steps forward with our cooperation with Uganda as well, I think that we can start promoting the awareness of Uganda and Uganda as a business environment here in Finland as well. You might be aware that we have a very strong Team Finland family in Nairobi in Kenya, and they cover the whole Eastern African region. With the Team Finland, I mean the Embassy of Finland in Nairobi, but also Business Finland, Finnfund, and Finnpartnership, who are all present there. And they are ready to support you or your businesses. They are ready to advise you and offer market information. And then I have to mention that we also have very good cooperation with the Ugandan embassy located in Copenhagen, Denmark. We have a very active ambassador in Uganda. So she and her team, I'm sure, will be happy to help you as well if you need some advice or support when going to Uganda. We also have to remember that the business environment in Uganda is very different from ours here in Finland or those countries that we normally go to. So what we try to emphasize when we talk with Finnish companies, for example, is that you really need to know where you are going to and what you are going to get involved with. You need to have enough information about the market. You need to have trusted partners on the ground. You need to know how things work on the ground in Uganda or whatever the country is where you are going to. How are the laws? How are the practices? How is the bureaucracy, the governance? What do you do when you face corruption? How do you work in a unstable political environment, which you might also face? So there's a lot of questions that you really need to think about before going there. And one thing, very important thing I would say, is that you cannot really run the business from Finland. Or maybe you can, but better if you have a person there, a trusted person there in Uganda who is, you know, working for you and who will do the practical work on the ground and who can deliver you information and so on. And then maybe the third point that we have noticed is that for Finnish companies, it's often easier to go for a bigger hub, let's say Kenya, where the environment might be a little bit more stable. There's already a lot of companies present. We have the Team Finland organization there and so on. So it's kind of like easier to go there, start the business from there. But what we also encourage companies who are already in Eastern African region is that when you are in Kenya or in another country, why don't you look from there about expanding to the neighboring countries? And then you already know, you have the market knowledge, you have the information about how to work there, so it might be easier then to expand to the neighboring countries. In the spirit of the Africa strategy, we really believe that there are cooperation opportunities between Finland and Uganda when it comes to trade. And there's some sectors that we've identified as relevant for both countries. These being agricultural sector, for example, modernizing the agricultural sector and the agribusiness, energy sector, infrastructure, and then of course digitalization, and then education, where, for example, the Finnish civil society organizations are already working and have been doing really good work in Uganda. Finland also invests heavily in clean technologies, circular economy, sustainable bioeconomy, and based on the discussions that we've been having with Ugandan counterparts, it sounds like these are also of interest to Uganda, so that could be something to look into as well. There's not too many Finnish companies in Uganda. I think we can count them with tens, if even that. So there is room for other companies, and I would also encourage you that those companies who are already there, who are already operating and who have experience, might be able to give really valuable information to you about how to get there, how to work there, and so on. And then, of course, we have representatives of the Ugandan diaspora here in Finland, and they are often key persons knowing both countries and can help you navigate also in the Ugandan business environment. We have lots of civil society cooperation in Uganda, and the Ministry for Foreign Affairs is also financing many civil society organizations who are there. Some of them also present today. We give program support and project support to civil society organizations. The program support this year has been a bit over 4 million euros, and the project support has been some hundreds of thousands of euros. And working with the civil society organizations might also open possibilities for businesses. And here I would encourage you to look at both the Finnish organizations, but also the international organizations, all the way from the UN organizations to international NGOs who work on the ground. There might be opportunities arising there as well. But I'm not going to talk more about this because I think we have World Vision who is going to talk about this more in depth later today. I think I'm going to end here. I think Uganda is a very beautiful country with lots of opportunities, but of course challenges as well. But I think there is an opportunity to find mutually interesting opportunities for both countries, also in the trade sector and investment sector. Like I mentioned earlier, we are always happy to help at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs at the embassy, together with the Team Finland colleagues. And also hope that today's event and also the matchmaking event that will be organized next week will also help both Finnish organizations and Ugandan organizations to find each other and to also find these win-win opportunities in the cooperation. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Mary. Am I back on? Okay. So thank you very much. One key question I know was on everyone's mind is if the Africa strategy is continuing. We're glad to hear it is. We're glad to hear that there is a lot of support going for investment between Uganda and Finland, and also that there is support on the ground in the region in Kenya, and it's growing in Uganda for businesses who are interested in moving over there. And also I'll point out that later on we'll be talking about renewable energy with actually an expert from Uganda. And also later on we'll be talking about NGO partnerships and how they might help in your business goals. And also we're very glad to hear that we're looking at doubling the amount of investment in Africa, which means opportunity for business. So our next presenter will actually be online. But before I go to him, let me just point out that we've mentioned Finnpartnership a couple of times, and Finnpartnership will have a short presentation at the end to just discuss what they do and how that might feed into your goals. I know at least 2 people approached me earlier on about how to actually get to work in Uganda, and I think Finnpartnership might be of assistance in this. So our next presentation, if we could continue, is from Wycliffe Ncheka, who is the country director from Finchurch Aid in Uganda. And he's actually joining us online. He will talk a lot more about his project, but this is also one of those examples of how, say, the partnerships between non-governmental organizations and businesses can work in reality, and the opportunities there that you might want to look at. Okay. So thank you, and we'll now proceed.
Hello, everyone. Just to confirm that you can hear me. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Christian.
Yeah, good. I sent the presentation. I'm not sure if you're able to show it from that end.
Yes, we can. Sorry, can you hear me? Yes, we can.
Okay, so I said I shared the presentation, but I can as well speak.
Yes, we'll put
okay.
as you're
good. Yes, like I've been introduced, my name is Wycliffe Ncheka. I'm the country director for Finnpartnership Aid in Uganda, and I was asked to talk about our partnership with Omnia in Uganda. But before that, happy to hear about the Finland Africa strategy. I know Finnpartnership commented on this strategy, and I was personally interviewed and gave views of what I think are business opportunities that could be in Uganda and Finland. So, but specifically for this meeting, I will just give a brief background of Finnpartnership, that Finnpartnership in Uganda is one of the biggest country programs within Finnpartnership, employing about 300 staff. We also manage education work on behalf of UNHCR, where we have 1,750 teachers, and we have an annual budget of 17.7 million euros. And of course, good that the presentation can come there. And the thematic areas we work on: right quality education, right livelihood, and right peace. If we got the next one. Next slide is, as it comes, of course, our donors or partners, and one strongly is the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Finland, where we do both humanitarian and development cooperation work. We have Women's Bank in Finland. I think I saw Maria Satu here, where we also have a poultry business on the side of our livelihood work. We have also funding from the US, European Union, Education Cannot Wait, the Lego Foundation, Enabel, UNHCR, UNICEF, then World Bank through the Office of the Prime Minister in Uganda. Next. Yes, we try to align our work with the Sustainable Development Goals, with the Uganda National Development Plan, and our own global and country strategy. Then we have a strong BITVET or TVET program. So Uganda government also has a strategic plan for TVET, which we call Skilling Uganda program. We have an education response plan for refugees and host community, and Finnpartnership represents international NGOs in the steering committee. We have memorandum of understanding with the district local authorities where we work, and we also collaborate more specifically with the Department of TVET in the Ministry of Education. Next. Yes, specifically for this meeting, to talk about our cooperation with Omnia Education Partnership, of which Finnpartnership is involved. We got the next. So since 2017, Finnpartnership in Uganda, in partnership with Omnia, we did business education mainstreaming in our TVET or vocational training and employment creation work. And the approach was that we trained training of trainers to bring into business and entrepreneurship into our TVET work. And most importantly, the expertise and that we got from Omnia is that it was technical vocational education and training, but we included that B that is highlighted to specifically look at business training as a vocational discipline. Next. Yes, and Omnia, of course, they certified the trainers, promoted business practice and entrepreneurship among the work that we are doing, because we are doing the normal TVET courses that we are training, but Omnia brought in this good expertise of bringing businesses to look at business package that we incorporate in the training that the trainees are getting, such that they look at the various trades or courses with business and entrepreneurship mind. And then FCA has an approach which we'll see on the next slide, which we call linking learning to earning. If we got that slide, good. Whereby we look at the market relevance of the courses that we are teaching, bringing in entrepreneurship, and also looking at the quality of the training, with strong entrepreneurship and looking at job placements where we work with the private sector and including in career guidance and counseling, and then at the result looking at decent work for the youth that we train, youth from refugee communities and also from the host communities in Uganda. Next. And we have over 7,000 youth have benefited from our partnership with Omnia in business modeling, and of which 73% have applied these skills into businesses. They have scaled up the businesses and they're also employing others. The local private sector and the business economy, where FCA does the TVET, has also economically boosted as a result of better business practices, of course, supported by these expertise business models that we get from Omnia. Then the vocational skills application rate increased by 38% after integrating Omnia business skills as life skill to meet the needs of the 21st century. Then, as Finnpartnership program in Uganda, as a result of our cooperation with Omnia, we were also able to attract more donors for funding for vocational training courses with strong elements of business and entrepreneurship from Enable and the Mastercard Foundation. Next. And also we updated the training courses of the TVET to include business. And now the level where we are commercializing our TVET centers to roll out the business practice in every department of our vocational center as a livelihood option. Yes, this is one of our training with someone from, I think, Risto from Omnia, who was conducting a training in Uganda. In a nutshell, what I can say is that we were doing the traditional way of vocational training, and Omnia came in with this business and entrepreneurship skills that we were able to train 40 training of trainers, certified them and got Finnish diplomas in further entrepreneurship, and the TOTs have been able to train other instructors, and they have put business and entrepreneurship at the top of the agenda in the vocational skills that we are doing. So in that we have seen the businesses growing, being scaled up, employing other people. So we, on behalf of Finnpartnership in Uganda, would like to commend our partnership with Omnia, that there are models like, for example, the Center of Excellence in this TVET and the business and the entrepreneurship lens have yielded positive results in our program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'd like to thank you for your presentation and ask the audience now if you have any questions for Wycliffe. Okay, and then... What about online? Yeah. Okay, so one of my questions for you would be, how do you see this feeding into, what advice from this experience that you've had with Omnia would you give for Finnish entrepreneurs who are now looking at Uganda as a place, as a destination, as an investment destination? Is it something, are NGO partnerships something that they should look at?
Yes, definitely. When you look at the employment rate in Uganda, especially among the youth, is very high. And every year, the universities are producing graduates who have finished different courses in different disciplines, and vocational training was not given attention. And for now, we can tell that it's one of the sectors that can create employment. I talked about the Skill in Uganda program, that the government of Uganda itself has recognized the importance of TVET or vocational training, as it creates kind of immediate employment. So the government put in place a 6 months training whereby youth can come at different levels of education, go through a vocational training course, and then from there, what I see like the opportunity of Omnia has been bringing in the business and entrepreneurship skills. This has helped the youth that are undergoing the skills training to go and start their own businesses, also to go and find employment with that business and entrepreneurship mind. So I would say that in these Finnish businesses, if you are looking for cooperation in Uganda, those entrepreneurship and business skills, at least Omnia has tested it, and it was a pilot, but which we are very proud of that we have scaled up, and you saw even other donors who came in to support us to do similar approach. So Omnia has a strong role to play. And just to mention, I know a few years ago, I remember very well this Finn who died in Uganda, who had come to do businesses, and actually my question was, I got to have been in Finnish circles for quite a couple of years, and I got many calls, people asking, did you know about this and all this? So you have a consulate in Kampala, and like also Maria said, we have quite a number of civil society organizations that are supported by the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Finland, that we know the business environment, so it will also be good to reach out. We are more than happy to provide information, to also give you a broader business perspective of the business environment in the country. So only we should be able to prevent all this. Thank you.
Thank you, Wycliffe. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay, we have an online question for you. As we have been talking about importance of context, has there been a need to modify the Omnia educational content for the local Uganda context? If yes, what changes or additions may have been made?
Good, definitely they have been there. Like I previously said, our curriculum looked at the training and the skills only, but with the involvement of Omnia, now business skills and entrepreneurship, career guidance have been included in the curriculum of different courses.
Okay, now there are more questions here.
Yes.
Are there teacher training institutions in Uganda which train vocational teachers?
We have them, but the training is really bad. Finnpartnership has a specific request from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Education that they would love if Finland could support training, vocational training instructors in good methodologies. It is one of the biggest challenges that we have in the government TVET centers. We are somehow involved from Finnpartnership, Teachers Without Borders in Finland, FinSeed, with support from the Finnish ministry, supporting education reforms in Uganda. But top on the agenda, what is coming out now is the support to TVET instructors, the institutions. So yes, the institutions are there are capacity gaps, and Finland could add value. It could be one of the areas for cooperation.
Okay, and one more. Question to Finchurch Aid. Just wondering if you work with persons with disabilities in your business vocational trainings.
Exactly, and Finchurch Aid has established 3 centers of excellence for inclusion or for supporting children with disabilities, and we are also bringing it in the business environment. It's also strongly emphasized in our TVET trainings, so inclusion is on top of the agenda in our work.
Okay, thank you, Wycliffe. This is for now for the online participants.
Thank you.
So I'd like to thank you very much with just one brief question from me, just to clarify. Sorry, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah. I can.
Yes, you disappeared for a second. So you've seen Finnish businesses included as in what form? As consultants, as in businesses themselves, entrepreneurs themselves. So you know, because I don't think everyone wants to be in terms of an NGO, but what actual business can we start within the education system in Uganda?
One, like Maria said in her presentation, I remember very well, he said they have the Finland Africa strategy. And like when you think of businesses in Africa, usually in East Africa, Kenya, straight away Nairobi, so Uganda comes like a last option. But I would want to give you some light that Uganda's business environment is very open. And actually the requirement is for one to be an investor in Uganda or start a business, you need $100,000, if I remember correctly. You can come and start a business. So Uganda is a virgin place for running businesses, and we don't see, since Nokia, I think that is what was like famous in Uganda. The Finnish businesses are not strongly there, but there are quite a lot of opportunities. We are struggling in the energy sector. We have a lot of sun. We want to invite, you know, solar companies. That is untapped potential, looking at the sun that we have almost throughout the year and the climate change related issues that we are struggling with. We don't have strong SMEs. And I remember when I was interviewed in the Finland Africa strategy, one of my points was that Finland look at the small, medium-sized enterprises in Uganda to help them grow, be profitable, be sustainable, and be competitive. Because if you are driving the economy, the SMEs play a significant role. And we saw this during COVID, that a number of multinational companies scaled down, and we had challenges with the Ugandan economy, employment, you know, they are remitting taxes and all this. So there are quite a number of opportunities doing actual businesses, doing consultancies. We now have oil that is coming up in the country. So Finland is very open in Uganda. They have opened door for Finnish businesses. There's lots of opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you at some point.
Thank you.
Bye.
And I have just one comment for Wycliffe. There is a comment for you in the chat, so you can continue cooperation there in the Zoom chat. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Right. Okay, so that was very useful. I'd like to thank him again for joining us. So we will now move into our next session, which will be opportunities in the Ugandan energy sector, which is something that has come up several times. So we have a panel. First, we'll have Vilja Mikettunen, who first, what will happen is he will give us an overview, and then Ivona Kiding, who is with us today, will also give an overview of the Ugandan energy sector. And then we will have questions. You can, while you're listening, you can think about what to ask them, and hopefully we get into a discussion. So this will continue until our break. So, thank you very much, William.
I'm glad that I have the opportunity to join this meeting. Good morning, everybody, online, on site. My name is Vilja Mikettunen. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been doing business 20 plus years. I've been doing business in Africa 15 plus years. I've been doing Uganda business 10 plus years. Probably why I'm here is that I'm also have participated MFA roundtable as an SME partner, meaning like there was roundtable discussions how to enhance cooperation between governmental NGOs and private business. So I'm kind of a private business person here to talk about the experiences from Africa. Also, on top of that, I have done several projects within Finnpartnership. We were one of the first to do that kind of a cooperational project, having FCA, Finchurch Aid, private companies, and also NGOs. So that was in Nepal a few years ago. Basically, my kind of a topic or task today is talk about solar energy. I have several hats. I've been investor, business developer, project developer. So in Africa, in Uganda, solar business have been my kind of a key area. Though, as we heard, this COVID has made the international business quite a struggle. On top of that, if we talk about inflation, at the same time lending rates have risen, so basically that has also caused a kind of a not only challenge for Africa and Uganda, but a global challenge of making business. So therefore, I'm here for any questions or feedback or experience that I can share, all of those projects that I have done. I heard Maria talked about 10 million approximately would be the turnover. So the biggest project that I have run in Uganda is approximately 500,000. So there was street lamps, solar street lamps was the key area that we worked with Chinese. The cooperation with Chinese worked well, even though we have challenges, as we heard. Uganda has challenges. So basically, I'm here just to give my advices, answer questions, and also I have been a matchmaker within Finnpartnership. I have done it also because I have a vast network of decision makers in Uganda. So I have given those advices and being consulting also Finnish companies, schools, training centers, and so on, trying to make the ministry level meetings and so on. Thank you very much. Maybe I'll leave room for the other persons then. Shall I stay? Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Is it on? Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Yvonne Esther Akiding. I'm Ugandan. I've been living in Finland for the past 6 years. I have my background is in energy technology and sustainability. I had the opportunity, I've been working in Wärtsilä, Finland, and had the opportunity to study different energy markets of several countries, Mozambique, Nigeria, Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. So today I'll be talking about the Uganda energy sector and giving my overview of what I know about the sector and how you can partner with several businesses and companies back home in Uganda. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay. So Uganda is my homeland. It's a very beautiful country. It's landlocked, and the neighbors are Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi. These are great neighbors, and it's also the source of the Nile. It has a friendly entrepreneurial environment, great weather, and it also provides great protection for its investors. Can you move to the next slide? Why invest in Uganda? So you enjoy great security. It's an open country for investment. It also has a GDP growth of 6.3% per annum. And those who like the nightlife, it has a great nightlife. And there are also many sectors with great potential. Maria mentioned several of them in the agriculture, energy, oil and gas, so the many business opportunities. Can we move to the next slide? So I'm going to talk about the Uganda energy sector. So I'm going to give a brief overview, the history. So in 1999, the Uganda passed an Electricity Act, and this provided the establishment of the electricity regulation authorities and its functions. Also, the act was to provide liberation and introduction of competition within the electricity sector. So after that, after the liberalization of the sector, it led to the unbundling of the Uganda Electricity Board. And then after the unbundling of the Electricity Board, it led to the three main sectors: the Uganda Electricity Generation, which is in charge for the generation of the electricity in the country; the Uganda Electricity Transmission, which is in charge for the transmission within the country; and then the Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited, which is in charge for the distribution of electricity within the country. Can we move to the next slide? So for the investors, there are a number of institutions whose authorization as a developer of a renewable project you must take into consideration. So these are the main institutions that you have to go through to get your license to be able to have a renewable energy project within the country. Yeah, next slide, please. So the Uganda Energy Agenda, it has set up an ambitious agenda to develop the energy and mineral resources, to promote economic development and to end energy poverty, and to lead the country within energy transition. And then their vision for 2040 is to transform it into a modern and prosperous country, ensuring better future for its citizens, and the energy sector will actually play a role within that. Next slide, please. So this shows the total potential of the renewable energy generation. Uganda heavily relies on hydropower. Followed by biomass, then followed by peat, and then geothermal and solar have the same percentage, 8%. Can we go to the next slide? So the target electrification rate would be the cogent important energy role by boosting the development. The government of Uganda has set this goal to increase the modern energy to 51% by 2030 and to ensure 100% access by 2040. Next slide, please. So there are several renewable energy opportunities. So there's opportunities in hydro, biomass, solar, wind, waste to energy, and geothermal. I can say there's potential for large hydro projects, but Uganda is also focusing on small energy projects that will enable the rural electrification within the country. And there's also increasing, I can say solar. The existing data shows that the solar energy in Uganda is high throughout the year. And so, however, there's a long-term policy measures to increase diversity and security in the energy supply. If you've been following the COP28, the Prime Minister of Uganda has signed a MOU with a UAE company to develop 105 megawatts of a solar plant. That would be one of the biggest plants in Uganda. So it was signed yesterday, if you've been following the COP 2028. And so also there's also the conversion of municipal waste. So that would also improve the waste management within the country. So it's a win-win, improve the waste management within the country and also produce electricity from the waste. I can say the wind speed in Uganda is moderate. So I can only say it's only sufficient for small scale businesses, and especially those that are off-grid. So that's from my understanding and reading, I can say that's when it comes to wind. Yeah, can we move to the next slide? And so the huge potential for the supply of grid renewable energy sources, and then opportunity to invest in all the segments as mentioned above, and then the legal and regulatory framework is also very supportive. Next slide, please. So I'm here representing, it's a Ugandan company, it's called Illucid Energy Global. The founder has over 15 years of expertise in the energy sector. So her and the team really deliver business support services in multiple sectors like market entry, advisory, business development services, partner searches. So she has a lot of connections within the ministry and different stakeholders within the country, because she's been in the business for over 15 years. So she knows what her and team know what they're doing. So, and I can truly vouch for them. They really get the job done. And I'm happy to also work with them because I'm also an advisor within her team. Yeah. So I guess that's all from my side. And if you would want to network, you can find me on my LinkedIn. Yeah. Thank you very much. Oh.
Okay. So, can you hear me? So I'd like to thank you both for coming today. And we're just going to expand on some of the things you said. Both of you mentioned, I'll start with Viljami, connections and decision-making. Now, for people who are, I say for Finns who might not be used to doing business abroad, how important is this for the investor in an industry, in a sector such as renewable energy? How important is it to get to decision makers? And yeah, if you can go first.
Thank you. If I may start. Basically, it's everywhere. It's important that you find the right people. So like for me, what happened with Africa, I started with Diaspora. So then they are kind of making the connections, and you also learn from them how to do business, how to cope with the culture, so to speak. So definitely. However, as Maria was saying also in her presentation, that your local presence is important. So I've lived in Uganda, so I can notice that running businesses from distance, it's not that easy, even though you know right people. So definitely you need to be localized in that sense.
And Yvonne, you also mentioned that, for instance, your partner is quite well connected. How would you see, as a Ugandan, is this something that's negotiable, or do you, like Viljami, agree that it's really important to get to know the local business culture? Let me not say local culture, but the local business culture.
Yes, it's really important, and to get to the right people. So having a presence there, especially the local resources, is very, very important for your business to survive and thrive within the country.
Okay. So then how do we get to it? Because we've talked about, you really outlined the significance of it. And I just want to emphasize, so there are about 45 million people, or is it 50 million in Uganda? 26 million people do not have access to modern energy. So this makes it a huge investment opportunity. So what are we looking at? What are we looking at from Finland? What does Uganda need from Finland, or what would they like in Finland? What opportunities are there in terms of actual business?
When it comes to the rural electrification within the country, that means the off-grid renewable businesses, I think Finland will thrive in that. Mm-hmm. Because mostly the Ugandan government is mainly involved in the on-grid opportunities. So the small scale, medium business opportunities, especially areas which have difficulty accessing the main grid. So the off-grid renewable opportunities, I think Finland could help out in that. And when also it comes to solar, due to the fact that Uganda has the perfect climate. Mm-hmm. So, and then, with renewable energy and then introducing, with the energy mix, introducing renewables and fossil fuels, there's a lot of inflexibility. So a company that has batteries. So if you have a battery company and during the day, the batteries are charged. So during the peak hours when everyone has gone home and everyone is consuming a lot of electricity, those batteries are discharged. So they help in the peak hours of the time. So that's also a viable chance. And also hydrogen is coming up. The government has started talking about it. So I don't know if they've made any concrete plans about that the sustainable fuels in hydrogen, but it's an upcoming conversation within the government.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Before I continue? Yes, please. Oh, wait for the microphone, please. There's a microphone coming in.
My name is Hanan Magari. I'm head of ESG and impact at the FCA Investments. I just wanted to ask you about the local skill sets, because when we are talking about renewable energy and solar power, we understand the technological component.
Yes.
So how maybe you can unpack or tell us about your experience,
okay,
or how to address the limited maybe technical capacity, or how to build maybe that, or maybe it's not an issue. Thanks.
Okay.
Let me answer, because I want to emphasize that basically there is more expertise regarding renewable energy and solar than in Finland. So coming to what C was mentioning also, so what I would say that now we need to remember that we are in global business, meaning like also other people are looking at Uganda as a business opportunity. And unfortunately, Finns, we don't have expertise of solar, for example, that much. We don't have a kind of capacity that the Asians have, Chinese and Indians.
Yes.
So basically that's the kind of a thing that we think that we know, but unfortunately we don't. And that's kind of a challenge also, that when we go to Uganda or Africa, we need to have reference cases. There's no quick business, unfortunately, coming from Uganda, African countries, or anywhere else even. So the point is that you need to really do your homework and find that kind of international partners that you can support your businesses. So from the Finnish perspective, I would say that there would be like an opportunity of that kind of business development side, investments, cooperation, as I said, with, for example, FCA, other NGOs. So you make that kind of cooperation there. And in that sense, the essence of kind of understanding your core business would be kind of a great value. And also as an investor, I guess you mentioned you as an investor, so you need to also recognize that what are the pros and cons when going into that country. So what for example, what I suggested with one company that is offering a rental workforce, that why don't we take Ugandan professionals, technicians, engineers in Finland to make these solar power plants? Unfortunately, they were not that keen on, but because they have the same attitude that, are they capable? I told them that they know better than your people, so that's the case. I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Yvonne, would you like to add? That's a very interesting. I'd never thought of it that way.
That's how I see it. I've been there, yes. I've done it, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah, we always seem to look at Finland as the source of expertise. And yes, but thank you for pointing that out. Yvonne, would you like to add something?
I actually agree with him, but also the government has put in place initiative to educate the population about the energy transition and the different emerging renewable resources. So it's hands-on when it comes to that. Yeah.
We have another question coming from this side.
Hello, my name is Jussi Alaputto. I've been living quite a number of years in East Africa as well, and working on that, on the renewable energy. But my question may be, William knows exactly how things are in a small scale, but maybe I could ask Yvonne, as you are on the bigger end of the line, the Wärtsilä, how do you see the energy mix working? How do you see the energy mix being put in practice rather than just talking about it in Uganda or Eastern Africa or the whole Africa?
Okay, from my understanding and different projects that I've worked on, I would say it's hybrid. For example, now we're talking about Uganda, it's heavily or relies on hydro. And also they also have, how can I say, fossil fuels power plants that run on HFO. So changing, I would suggest they change the fuel to more sustainable fuel, that's gas. It still emits emissions, but it's way better than HFO. But then there's also that comes with a lot of challenges. Uganda is landlocked. So getting gas into the country would also be a challenge. But with the oil refinery that we discovered and are developing right now, the ECOP, I was involved in that project. And from my understanding, there are also chances of where they could also develop gas, which could be utilized within the country. So with that energy mix, it can also counterattack the inflexibility within the country. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
And if you want my humble opinion on energy mixes, I'm not an expert, but one thing you've got to realize in Southern Africa is, I spent a little bit of time some time ago in Uganda, but my experiences are further in Southern Africa, is the reality of the need for energy is very clear. You very often do not have power. So you can live in right now a lot of people are resorting to generators, which is awful. Yes. But it can't continue like that. And people are willing to look for cheaper, cleaner alternatives. But just
Can I comment on that one as well? So the energy mix, one key point that we tend to forget is the landlines, meaning like the grid. It doesn't matter how much power you can produce if you cannot transfer it. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the biggest challenges in Eastern Africa as well. So, and that is very expensive to also, if you think about to construct. So what you were saying, so I would refer also that it's been there already, these kind of microgrids. I had a list of hundreds of different potential, business potential microgrid, solar microgrid projects, which was presented to me by ministry. And I said, well, unfortunately, they are very difficult from the investor's point of view to make good business, meaning like making some profit out of that one. So there could be an opportunity for NGOs and private businesses to join their forces and make those kind of microgrids. Instead of, like I've been having an application of a 10 megawatt solar plant in Uganda for a few years now. Unfortunately, the COVID and unfortunately the global recession. So the investment plans that we did, with those figures at this point, very difficult to make lucrative business out of that one. But what to do on those microgrid side? There would be a lot of possibilities there. That's my point. Yeah.
Okay, so...
Or suggestion even. Yeah.
So, and if we don't have... Do we have any more questions or any online questions? So what I'd like to say is, key takeaway here is the renewable energy sector has a myriad of opportunities. We're looking at a huge market. I think you said looking to get 100% full access to modern energy by 2040, I think you said? Yeah. So this is an opportunity. So right now we will stop for a break and we will resume at 11. And at that point, we'll talk about market entry. So this is now real life. How do we get to Uganda to work? Okay. So thank you very much. Hello? Sorry, could we gather? If we could all come back to our seats. You can all bring your drinks and everything with you, your coffees. So it's 11 o'clock almost. The program is continuing. Please take your seats. You can even change seats. Okay. Okay. We'll begin as soon as we... Okay, so thank you very much for staying with us. I hope you enjoyed that. That salmon was absolutely delicious. I know, I think I've eaten a whole fish right about now. Okay, so we're going to have our next session, which will be moderated by Sarah. And this is on, now, like I mentioned, the more practical aspect of working in Uganda. So how do we, market entry, how do we do it with impact? And our guests will be Pierre, yeah, who is here somewhere, and Hani. So, okay, thank you. So, if we are still walking around, if we can just stay a little, just keep the volume down a little bit. Okay.
You are, sorry, can you hear me? Yes. You can also use the meeting rooms here on the site if you like to, at some point, continue discussions with potential business partners, for example. So these are all in our use also. So I hope also, on my behalf, that you joined the break and the delicious breakfast that we had. And now, as Mula mentioned, we will continue with the next speakers. I have a pleasure to invite here Hani Amegari. He's from FCA Investments, Finn Church Aid Investments, which I have had a privilege to also get to know a bit during the past few years. And without further ado, please, Hani.
So, thank you for having me. My name is Hanan Magare. I'm the head of ESG and Impact at FCA Investments. We are an impact investor. We invest in growth-oriented and impact-driven SMEs. We are operating now in Kenya, Uganda, and Somalia. So FCA Investments is owned by Finnchurch Aid, and we target, as I mentioned, impactful SMEs, and that's the aim. So our mission in that sense is twofold. First, creating decent jobs and improving livelihoods in the target countries. And second, we want to promote responsible and inclusive economic growth in these countries. And to do that, of course, we have to be profitable, and we want to target commercially viable, environmentally and socially responsible companies. So, how we do that? If you can move to the next slide, the next one, maybe. Yeah, so basically we are providing patient capital, commercial funding to our target SMEs. And also we are offering business development services to these companies or SMEs. Because we believe it's not just about financing or funding, it's also about offering a hand-holding approach to these companies to pave the way for them to be investment ready and to unlock the potential they have. So financial services and business development services to unlock the potential and the impact of these companies we are targeting. Next slide. Oh, maybe. Yes. So why SMEs? As mentioned earlier this morning, SMEs, they are the engine for economic growth and job creation, and that's why we are targeting SMEs. But despite their untapped potential and the significant potential they have, they are overlooked to a large extent by mainstream finances because, of course, because of many challenges and difficulties, risk perceptions, and so on. So we want to bridge that gap. We want to invest in the missing middle, the impactful companies, and to showcase that SMEs are investable and you can do business with them. Next slide. Thanks. So, but it's very important to identify the right partners and the right companies to support. And that's why we are present in these countries. We have teams on the ground in Somalia, Kenya, and Uganda. For example, in Uganda, we have a team of 4 investment analysts, and investment manager, and so on. And we have a portfolio of 6 companies in Uganda. They are doing very well. 3 of them, they are receiving investment from us, but also business development services to help them grow sustainably. So we have a system to be able to identify and to screen the potential investees and to be able to identify the most promising companies to invest. And that's like the starting point to be able to identify the right partner or the right companies to invest. So we have some screening tools, and then the due diligence process starts from there. Next slide, please. Yeah. And of course, to maximize maybe the impact we want to create, we target impact-driven companies, as I mentioned, but we also want to identify what are the potential risks or risk factors to make sure we are not contributing to any harmful kind of consequences or activities. So we also, it's part of our ESG management. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance risk factors. And that's also a process where we look at the sector-specific kind of aspects and risk factors, and then we identify any red flags. And of course, it's not about picking winners. If they have some challenges, we are able to offer some kind of ESG services for them to address the challenges and to address and to improve their responsible business conduct or practices, and then the investment will take place. Next slide, please. Yeah. Based on our experience, we have come to realize, as I mentioned, it's not just about funding, but also technical support, business development services, capacity building, and so on. It's a partnership that what we do. So to address the root causes of the lack of access to finance, we do some needs assessment to identify the gaps, the risks, and then we agree on the action plan, and across that journey, we will be able to unlock the funding the company needs. So it's a combination of pre-investment and post-investment kind of business development service. Yeah, and these are like the main services we are offering, because we call them essential services, cross-cutting kind of areas, like financial management, accounting, business scalability, ESG, and marketing. Yes, next, please. Sorry, can you go back 1 second? Yes, just to say a few words about the target sectors. So we focus mainly on the productive sectors, as you can see, because we believe they are the biggest or among the biggest employers in the target countries, and they have also a huge potential in terms of growth and inclusive economic development. Yes, next. So these are the services we are offering, and our subsidiary or our modality to offer these services, it's an entity called Missing Middle Opportunity Facility, MMOF. You can visit their website, mmof.com. And from that website, the target companies, they can apply or submit their case if they would like to receive our support, and they can see all the criteria, and then they can apply, and the team on the ground, they follow on that request. Yes, next, please. Yeah. So because no need to dwell too much on the technicality, but we understand the wide range of challenges that many SMEs in the productive sectors they are facing. So we want to provide a one-stop shop or a comprehensive solution to these SMEs to help them become investment ready and then to receive our funding down the line. Next. So the services and capital development process. So we start with the screening phase, and then we offer a workshop to explain what we do, and then we agree on the package, part of the due diligence process, and then we start the delivery of our services. So our aim is to embed the business development process part of the investment mechanism, and to do more with less, and to help make our processes more efficient and cost-effective. And responsive to the needs of these companies, of course. That's the key here. Yes. Just to, sorry, I forgot to mention the ticket sizes we offer. So our investments range from 100,000 euros up to 1 million per company. So that's like the range we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Sorry. Before going to the questions, I will invite Pierre here to tell about his business, the remote. And after that, Pierre will join the panel with Hani, and we will have a possibility to ask questions at that point. So please, Pierre.
Thank you. I think I'm the only one who cannot stand under this lamp. So it's great. Pierre Jallo, co-founder, CEO of Remode Market Entry. So we focus on 3 different things. First is market entry for Nordic, Baltic, and DACH region companies to the African markets and vice versa. Second, we spin off companies. And third, we invest in African tech startups. Remode was started with this idea of changing how market entry is done. We know we have a history of many Europeans, Americans going into Africa with their companies and taking 90–95% back. And this is something that needs to change, and it's still happening. We believe in win-win situations. We believe in partnerships, real partnerships, not just talked about partnerships. Since we work from Finland as well, one of the values is to be able to make sure that we have the support of both the international company and then the local companies. Some of the projects, so we are sector agnostic, but we've been focusing a little bit more on the tech side, AI, and data related stuff. Finishing the sectors first. Second is sustainable construction, and third is agriculture / health in there, considering some of our portfolio companies that we've invested in. Data, AI, because we are one of the believers that the African continent is going to leapfrog, as they've done in terms of technology, with, for example, skipping from landline straight to mobile pay, or from the financial side, or jumping directly into mobile instead of going on computers. We believe this part of the business, particularly, for example, the SaaS business, is going to be skipped, and artificial intelligence, particularly the understanding that there are no legacy systems. If you look at 3 of the example countries of, for example, Germany, Finland, and Estonia. Germany has the biggest legacy systems, and therefore we all know the hardships they have in getting new technology into their districts, for example. But then you look at Finland, you look at Estonia, and Estonia actually is the latest country, but then they are more technology advanced than all those 3, even though they were the last to embrace. So we feel that this is where Africa is. And the last point, there is, from our vantage point, there are a lot of opportunities for Finnish companies, but then we have a lot of problems with Finnish companies thinking that business should be quick, that their solutions are the best and therefore it should be embraced right away, without acknowledging the massive competitions that are out there with different countries supporting their companies way more than Finland does. And I think this realization should be talked about more often. I will wait for some questions. Oh.
It's fine. It's fine. However, you are most comfortable. Well, thank you so much. I think the both of you have kind of a different perspective to the same issue, kind of from a business development side. Pierre, you are more concentrating on Finnish businesses and how they can make market entries to different African countries, and FCA Investments is more investing to the local SMEs.
Correction, we have more international companies than Finnish companies in our portfolio. So from Germany, Sweden, and Estonia, for example.
European companies?
Yes, European.
Yeah. But anyway, you will take Finnish companies as your customers if they would like so.
Yes.
So my first question is to Hani, more about I'm very interested on this ESG due diligence that you do, negative screening. FCA Investment is a very interesting, how do you say, it's a company, because it's kind of combining the business and NGO purposes or the ways that we work in developing countries. So we who work at the NGOs, we do know that we have very strict ways that we choose our partners and we measure impact. That's the most important thing for us. But then what is missing is the due diligence side of things and how to kind of, what are the absolute no-nos and so on. So can you tell a bit more about that and how do you do that? And you mentioned also that you had this way of guiding these companies forward if there is something negative. I'm sorry, I think I lost my voice. Now it's back. Negative that you see in the screening. So how do you, in practice, do this process?
Yes, thanks. Actually, the starting point is to acknowledge that the private sector can play a role when it comes to sustainable economic growth and sustainable development and so on. And the next step is to identify where the private sector can go to address some of the most pressing global challenges and where maybe it's not the right area for the private sector to get involved. And yeah, from that perspective, we target, as I mentioned, growth-oriented and impact-driven SMEs, but we can, the easy way is to say, okay, let's look at the most lucrative cases, the investable companies to go there. But then everyone would say, okay, we can't find many investable companies. And for that reason, we are not able to generate the impact we want or to address the challenges we want to address. But from our perspective, we want to go there and help build that sector to generate investable companies. So the negative screening and the positive screening, they go hand in hand. So positive screening, by identifying the most promising, impactful companies, and then negative screening, it's our way to avoid the harmful practices and the companies that don't fit within our mission. But we don't believe in picking winners to say, okay, let's be very picky or selective in that sense. Our approach is to acknowledge the challenges and the way we can be a partner in that journey to say, okay, we have some hard lines or red flags. It's like a no-go for us. And then we can be more flexible when it comes to certain areas where we see the potential, but we also see some kind of challenges, and then we offer them a pathway to grow and to get the funding they need.
Yeah, willingness to
exactly
to progress and so on.
If I can give a couple of examples here, at least from the remote standpoint. So we're working with a few projects. First is an education project in South Africa. So we've partnered with DBE, so E cubed under DBE, so that's the Department of Basic Education in South Africa. I mistalked earlier. So DBE is partnered with TTN and Remode to actually train 300,000 teachers. It's a 12-year project that we have embarked on. And the idea is to teach entrepreneurship, focus on entrepreneurial education, so that kids can learn how to build stuff for their own, for themselves. Very, very important, because that's outside of the school curriculum for now. So from the impact angle, this is huge, right? Because then when you train the teachers, it trickles down. In Kenya, we're working with Ushahidi. Ushahidi is one of the leading organizations in terms of collecting data focused on elections, for example. So when there are elections happening in a certain country, they're able to collect a lot of data from regular people, and through their app, they're able to, these regular people can actually find out what's happening, where are people leaning towards, what are the issues that are being worked on. So with them, we're working on artificial intelligence-related programs, because they have so much data, but then what they get out of the data is not much as of now. So the idea, we have a few more in terms of this impact stuff, but the idea is that you have to look at who are these organizations that are making a big impact, what are the holes, and how can you plug in? You have to do the work yourself as well, many times.
Thank you. Please, if you have any questions in the audience, please wait for the microphone so that the online participants can also hear you. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I have one question to Mr. Hani. When I look to the list of your target, they are mostly consumer product. So I didn't get any clear idea what type of investment you are investing in fish or other livestock. What kind and what the size of investment, what you are controlling, what you gain. Can you please go more in detail in at least one of those projects? Because those projects have inside a lot of potential for energy saving, for sustainability, for recycling. I just want to hear more.
Yes, sure. So, of course, we don't want to dictate the growth trajectory of our target companies, but they have to provide their proposal, the investment proposal. So they need to highlight the growth perspective of the company. If it's a fishery, so what is like the projection of this company, what they foresee in terms of growth and development, and then what is the financial need in that sense. So if they can say, okay, we need that kind of funding alone and to buy, for example, a new fishing boat or gears. In that sense, we provide that loan. But if they have a very long-term kind of ideas, and then they need to get an investor to provide equity, long-term funding, we can look into that as well. So it depends on the nature of the investment and the investment proposal and the impact pieces or story. And then we can chip in.
Unfortunately, I didn't get an answer to my question. Are you going to own this company whole, or are you going to own part of this company, or are you going to be major shareholder? Because this has a lot of effect on the African themselves. As he mentioned, a lot of companies come and own the company and suck them, get all the profit, and only the rest for them is minimum. I want to learn what kind of investment exactly you are doing.
We provide loans, equity, and from 100,000 up to 1 million. And we don't aim to be a major shareholder if we are talking about equity, for example. But we want to have a seat on the board just to be able to influence the decision-making process, not to dictate the decision-making process. So that's the size and the instruments we have. but we always have an exit strategy because we don't want to be there forever or to buy the company and so on. We have an investment tenure. For example, the sweet spot we have is from 5 to 7 years. So that's the time frame we have in mind, because we believe within 5 to 7 years we will be able to develop the business, and then they can unlock additional funding if they grow. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have an online question in here also.
Okay, Pierre, you mentioned the Estonian model in Africa, specifically the leapfrogging into the use of advanced digital systems. What role do you envision for major donors in this process? While national and international donors contribute financial, they might also affect the choice of technologies. How can we ensure a level playing field for companies with innovative solutions that are not part of large funded programs? That was a long question.
Wow, I don't know where to start with that. I'll answer on a more generic level. I believe from a donor perspective, there needs to be a lot more focus towards what FCA, for example, is doing. I told you this the last time. This old model of support, development aid or support, I mean, is extinct. What you're looking at is an African continent that is full of not just potential, but experts, of people who have wide and vast experiences, who are starting up amazing companies. Last year, I had this privilege of creating and running this investment marketplace with our partner company in Sweden. And this is where our investments, at least pipeline, comes from. And it's mind-blowing, the kind of new ideas, prospects, and companies that these guys are setting up. Because they live there, they understand their business way better than anybody else who's around here, thinking their solution, since it's worked here, should work over there, right? And I think when we talk about government and government support or development aid or whatever, those need to be channeled more, a lot more, towards the companies that are really doing the change, making the change happen. Because we have tried this for ages, and we know that from the government perspective, it's not working. For the most part, it doesn't work. Exceptions like Rwanda. But for the most part, it's not going to work. So when you focus on these companies who are able to make that change, I think then we have a more positive approach. But I'll stop there for now.
Thank you, Pierre. I think Jussi has a question also in the audience.
For Hani, you mentioned, since you are a Finland Church Aid Investments, does that mean that you are concentrating on the business revenue, return of investments, more than looking at the social aspect of the financing? Because one of the challenging parts in many of the African countries is opportunity of projects within the government, within the communities, or within the county levels. And there the challenge is always the financing. Who are the paying groups, institutions, government identities? So would that be of an interest for you?
Sorry, you mean to work with public actors? And
mainly
the
public actors, yes. Where the return of investment may not be the same as private.
Understand.
There is still always the corporate technologies coming into the public sector as well.
Yes, thanks. Based on our mandate, we are not able to invest in any public-funded project, because our mandate is to invest in the private sector and in SMEs. So mainly the private sector, but we work with the public sector to understand how to be compliant with the local laws and to do things properly, and because context matters, and that's our approach. And we don't offer concessional funding or cheap funding, but we don't distribute any profits to the shareholder, and we have only one shareholder, which is FCA. But our aim is to cover our cost and then to reinvest any profits back. So that's the modality we have. Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have any more questions in the audience? Yes, we do have one more.
Thank you both. I have a question for one of you, both of you, about the investment part. If you said that you have a board position, but don't you find that a little tricky if there's an investor in the board, and this is something what we've been talking in the board level, that you kind of rule then the board, even though that you have a minor part of the fundings there, and kind of striving them to get the more and quicker results and not focusing on the sustainable growth in that sense. Have you found that tricky, or have you got any comments on that part?
Well, it depends. Of course, we want to, as I mentioned, we want to influence the direction of the company to be more sustainable. For example, if they are working with some suppliers, for example, what kind of relationship they have with the suppliers and the workers. Do they pay minimum wage or living wage? And what is the path to be more responsible in that sense? What kind of remuneration package they offer to their employees, and all some things related to the responsible business conduct and the growth, the sustainable growth of the company. So that's our approach, is to provide something additional based on the nature of the business and so on, but not to undermine their governance structure. So the starting point is to make sure we invest in companies that have proper governance structure in place and proper decision-making processes. And we are only like one vote, so we don't want to hijack like the decision-making process in that sense. Yes.
I'm just asking that because lots of times even the one person can kind of hijack. And I'm just asking that whether not to be in the board, but actually be in the advisory role, and could that be a possibility? Because lots of times that is a big issue.
Well, it's part of the agreement, of course, the investment agreement, and we are talking here mainly about the equity kind of investments. And if we don't see the need for us to guide the direction of the company, we are not very keen to get that position. We can have a silent role, and then we don't participate in the decision making. But for us, what we understand that you can't be a passive investor and to say, okay, we have nothing to do with this business and you do it and it's on you. If you want to be an impact investor, you have to be hands-on, and you have to be an active investor to make sure, because we also face the reputational risk. If they do something bad, it will backfire, and then you are an investor in that company and you have done nothing to correct the situation or to foresee that, and that's it's a tricky situation. But
yeah, I'm just questioning the board position, but I love to hear comments on that.
Yeah, so I actually think there's nothing wrong with that. Being able to, because on a board level, FCA is not the major investor in that sense. So they're going to have one vote out of very many. So I think they're not able to kind of change the whole discussion, but they're able to give really good input, which I think is really important, particularly based on their mandate. And we know who owns FCA and what other organizations have invested in FCA investments. For us, we don't take board positions because, for example, we are partnered with Launch Africa, which is our major partner. Launch Africa is the most active VC in the African continent. Last year, they invested in about 110 companies. And they have, so very active. And actually this year, so their fund too, we're helping them raise as well in the Nordics. But because of the stage that the companies come to us, when we invest, we don't have tens of millions to come in and bring in, so we can't really take board positions. But what we do is give them this pathway towards market entry in other companies, in other countries. For example, one of our portfolio companies is Wella Health. You guys should know this name, Nigerian company, and they just won the African Leadership Award Prize. This was last week, and that was $300,000 award. And they're entering the Kenyan markets. So Remote is there to support them every step of the way to make sure that they do good, because then that means good for us as well.
Thank you so much.
Can I ask one last question from both of you?
Unfortunately, I will have to say that you can continue discussions after this, because we need to now continue with our program so that we will be able to stop in time at 12. So, as mentioned, there are these rooms that you can continue, and it's been so interesting to hear about your companies and businesses and potential of that. Thank you, Pierre and Hani, and let's stay in touch. And I will ask Mwila back to the stage to introduce our next speaker. Thank you.
Okay. So, we have our next speaker, who is Jussi Laurikainen. Okay, so this next section of this last section is going to be on cooperation between NGOs and the private sector, which we've already talked about to quite an extent. And I think this is drumming up quite a bit of interest in our audience. Certainly for me, I didn't think it was so extensive as it is now, as I know it is now. But here we go. So Jussi will give his presentation, and I'll take a few questions. And then at 11:50, we will hand over to Finnpartnership before ending our program. Thank you.
Ulva. Okay, thank you. I'll be very brief in order to leave more time for discussions. I was very happy to see my friend Wycliffe speaking live from Kampala, because I always remember when I met him for the first time in Entebbe Airport in 2010. That time he was based in Nairobi. He was the only staff of Finn Church Aid working for Uganda. So he's a living example that Finnish organizations can grow in Uganda. Nowadays they have 300 staff. That time he was the only one. And that time I was working in Nairobi at the Embassy of Finland. That time Finland didn't have any representative promoting trade or investment in Africa. At that time, then 2010 or 11, Mr. Esa Rantanen came and established the office of FinPro, what was Team Finland, name of Team Finland or Business Finland that time. And now he's still there. He's been in China for a while, but now he's back in in Kenya, so there's a really experienced person to support and help Finnish companies interested in African market. And it's good that the Finnish government also nowadays is supporting and helping Finnish businesses more. So Jussi Laurikainen, I think the test pack was supposed to be here, but now it's only me.
I think they are in Uganda or somewhere traveling.
Yeah, might be. So Jussi Laurikainen from World Vision Finland, next please. So I hope everybody knows World Vision International. World Vision is one of the biggest international NGOs working in relief and development and advocacy. We work in almost 100 countries. I think it's, more countries than McDonald's, I guess. And our total revenue is over 3,035,000 staff. I don't know what is, And World Vision Finland, we are independent NGO, part of the World Vision family, partnership. We also do development cooperation, humanitarian work and advocacy work. Our focus is 6 countries in East Africa. East Africa, World Vision, we don't really have thematical focus. We do almost everything that is relevant for child rights. We are a child rights organization. And humanitarian projects we have in Moldova, Ukraine, Syria, Colombia. There we have some focus on water wash and child protection. And advocacy work, that's what all the NGOs are doing also. And in Finland we have worked on to have a new, so that Finland would have a new or better legislation on female genital mutilation. And globally, there's a new advocacy campaign to end child hunger called Enough. Our funding mostly is coming maybe 1/3 from the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, 1/3 from private donors. There's more than 10,000 Finnish private persons who have a sponsored child in our programs, and then we have international donors, EU and UNHCR, and a few others. Next, please. So in the past 4 or 5 years, we have had collaboration with private sector, mostly in Kenya. Like Maria said, Kenya and Nairobi is a hub for East Africa and Africa in general. Sectors we have cooperated with private companies have been, for example, in renewable energy, water purification. In Kenya, we partnered with the Finnish company, small company called Solar Water Solutions. They had developed a water purification system that was using a solar power. So there was a small project in Kenya where they delivered the system technology that was in a container, and then it was tested in one of World Vision Kenya's projects. So our partner is in the countries where we work. The implementing partner is always the local World Vision office. We don't implement directly. In Kenya, we had a small project with the Clanet, a Finnish education technology company who were testing an application, a platform that was developed for training teachers online and combining artificial intelligence in that. So the TestPack, small Finnish company, they have developed this one. This one basically a digital projector that can be, as is very mobile, can be carried in a rucksack. We first had a cooperation with them in Kenya, and then this year in Uganda. And we have received Finnpartnership funding for this project, but also for other projects earlier. So what we do, the company maybe gets funding from Finnpartnership, and the NGO, we as an NGO, we get funding for so-called support project, to support the company's main project. This particular project in Uganda, it was a little bit, the time when it started was during COVID, and there was a lot of delays and so on. So it was not fully implemented as planned from our side. But the company, like you said, they are maybe now in Uganda, but they were in Uganda earlier this year. So the company, they have their own project where they try to enter Ugandan market with this product, and we have been, and we were testing the kit in our projects in northern Uganda. Next. So I was not sure what I was supposed to talk about, but briefly, what NGOs we have to offer is, of course, the local knowledge and connection and expertise in the communities. Of course, it depends what kind of what are the needs of the companies, what is the product or service they want to sell, what is the business they want to do. And NGOs like World Vision, we are usually the biggest NGO in the countries we work. For example, in Uganda and Kenya, we are the biggest NGO. We have presence in almost all parts of those two countries, in Uganda as well. And we have very good connections with the local and national authorities. So these are the things, some of the things that NGOs can offer to companies who are interested in piloting or testing a product or service in Uganda or elsewhere. Maybe I've used my time already.
Well, yes.
Thank you.
I think we're running a bit tight anyway. We would have liked to take questions, but right now we're just going to make a slight amendment. So, should I go ahead?
Yes, maybe if there is one or two
questions,
we can take.
Could we take one or two questions? And then we have a slight change in our program after that. So, for instance, I noticed that you have worked with TestBack, and there was the opportunity with Finnpartnership.
Yes.
If I'm looking to start a business, is this a viable model, or are these sort of a bit out of reach? Is it that we go down to Finnpartnership and I say, I've got this business idea and I would like to work with World Vision, and how do I find you? How do I work? Do you have a specific partnerships division where these things are developed?
Not really. If it's a Finnish company, then you, I guess it's has to be a Finnish NGO that is applying for funding for the support project. So then, just contacting World Vision Finland. We are a small NGO, but like I said many times, we implement with the national offices of World Vision,
okay,
which are big, and they have specialized people in project development, in fundraising, making grants applications to donors.
Okay.
Because usually many companies, they then need more funding, and they need an NGO partner in order to get funding from the donors.
Okay. And to make it clear, these are like profit-making partnerships.
These are now profit-making companies. Usually our partners have been small companies who don't have a lot of resources either. And in Finnpartnership, depends what country you talk about, but there has to be own funding also. So when there's a partnership, or when we apply Finnpartnership funding, NGOs have to invest something. So we only partner with companies who are helping us to do our work. Okay. We work with most vulnerable children and communities. If there's an innovation or service that can help us to make better impact, then we are ready to discuss and partner.
Okay.
We sometimes get approached by companies who have developed some products. We meet them. We are always happy to meet, but sometimes we have to say no. This is not going to help us to reach our goals.
Okay. So thank you very much. I think that's. Is that a question, or we're finishing?
We are finishing this section.
Great.
Going to the
surprise
part of the program. So the surprise is that we should be the ambassador of Uganda online now, waiting that.
The slight change to our agenda is that we will have the ambassador from Uganda online. So she was participating online, and we thought we'd invite her to say a few words. So,
second she will be.
Okay. Good. Great. Something incredibly clever to say, but it's not happening. So this was luck that she's available. So we're really hoping that she can come online and she'll be able to say a few words to us. After her, we'll have it looks like something's happening here.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay. You want to see me?
Yes, that would be lovely.
Okay, I'll turn the camera. Yes. You can see me?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Yes. So thank you very much for joining us. Okay.
Thank you too. And thank you to the organizers. Thank you to all the participants. I see quite a lot of people actually joining the discussion. And I'm also happy to note there are a number of Ugandans. I welcome you to Finland, although we are not there physically, but I welcome you there if you are, or if you are home. Good. I have listened to a few presentations, and I'm glad to note that a number of good results have been mentioned. None yet that's spectacular for Uganda, but from this kind of discussions, we borrow a leaf and use it, and we hope we'll catch up. But at least I know we've been in Finland has been in Uganda for a long time. Mr. Sheka, his middle name is Finland, really. So I thank you all participants. I hope that we shall gain a lot of experience to benefit from the NGOs that are present in East Africa. And once again, thank you very much, especially the organizers.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. We know it was very last minute, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks. Okay, I think that's all then. Okay, thank you. So our final speaker will be Paula from Finnpartnership. And I know I've already sent a few people in, down here. Yeah. Is this okay? Yeah. I've already sent a few people in your direction in the meeting, so thank you. And this will be 5 minutes. Yeah, that's the right one.
Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna keep very short. I know we're pretty much at 12 o'clock already. So very, very good afternoon, everyone. Also from my side, my name is Paula Pihlava. And like said, work at Finnpartnership with our whole team responsible for our communications on my behalf. For ending today's event, we've really had the pleasure to support Park, helping organizing today's event. And just really on behalf of Finnpartnership, I would like to thank every single speaker of today, wonderful panels and really brilliant keynotes. So further ado, I think we've been mentioned many, many times already. I don't go into presenting us, but to end today's event, I would really warmly welcome you all as well next week. So together with Park, we are organizing a follow-up, a virtual matchmaking event to today's, just to continue basically today's discussions. So it's a fully virtual event. Next week's Tuesday, so 12th of December at 10 o'clock Finnish time. And the purpose of the event is to maybe bring today's discussions, the meetings that you've had here today, a bit more on the concrete granular level. So why we are doing this online is we're inviting Finnish and Ugandan companies and organizations to join, to set one-to-one meetings with each other, discuss possible collaboration efforts, and then maybe initiate the future business partnerships. So the registration for this event is still open all the way until next Monday, so I would very warmly welcome you all to join, and I hope to see you also there, many of you. Warmly thank you again from Finnpartnership side.
Okay, thank you very much. You'll all be receiving a link to give us feedback. We would really appreciate it if we could get your feedback. There'll be room to, yes or no, and to just give us, your thoughts. And if there's something you'd like to see, some sort of, you've heard about the follow-up next week, what else would you like to see? We'll also be holding a Nigeria Day next year. And so we'll be taking your feedback and helping to bolster that event as well. So if we don't have any questions or remarks, okay. Any last questions? Then thank you again and have a nice day. And we're still sort of slowly making our way out, so we're happy to talk to people as we leave. Thank you.